I want to reflect on the hard sell of college attendance that I was propagandized with from a young age. For my whole life growing up, as early as I can remember, in some point in elementary school, it's like when you go to college, the assumption is that everyone's going to go to college. And I remember people telling me, when you go to college, and I got tired of the hard sell. I'm like, I don't want to go to college. Like, you don't, you're going to end up a bum. You're going to make $5 an hour. You can't survive on that. I'm like, well, I'll find a way. No, you won't. You're going to college. Sorry, there's a traffic control here. I'm trying to focus on that. And I remember getting into, middle school. Again, more of that when you get to college, because they're like, we're preparing you for high school, which prepares you for college, and college prepares you for a career where you're going to make a good living. And I remember having to pick classes for the freshman year in high school, and I didn't want to take a foreign language. It wasn't required. So I didn't. And my mom was looking at my class picks, like, you are going to take a foreign language. I'm like, I don't want to. Like, you need to go to college. I'm like, I don't want to go to college. Like, you're taking a foreign language, and that's final. Pick one. Spanish, French, or German. So like many of the nerds, I picked German. Not all, but a lot of the nerds took German. Constantly getting pounded. When you get to college. You ever think about applying for college? It's junior year. You got to think about what schools you want to apply to, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to go to college. I don't even want to take the SAT. And I'm like, you're taking the SAT. I'm paying for it. You're going to drive there and you're going to do it. Okay, I went and took it. I should have bombed it deliberately. I did my best. And not having taken Algebra 2, because I went to the vocational technical program instead. Through our school had a bus that drove from our school district like 20 minutes over to another school district where they had a VOTEC program. And I took the most bullshit VOTEC program at all, computer technology, which it was totally unstructured and of no value. And then I got seriously ill with all the Tourette's medication I was given. I couldn't go to school and so on. But so I didn't take Algebra 2 my junior year like I should have. But I took the SAT and I got, 1240 on it. Which I guess is pretty good for someone who didn't take Algebra 2. And I realized after the fact, when I take Algebra 2 my senior year in high school, that I would have done way better on the SAT had I had taken Algebra 2. I would have known a lot more mathematical concepts. In any case, I didn't care about the SAT. I wasn't going to go to college. And I remember being counseled by the guidance counselor. I got called down, like, hey, we don't have anything about your college intentions here. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to college. I'm just going to work. But you're really smart. Why don't you? No, I'm just going to work at Walmart. That's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm sick to death of people, college. Now, interesting enough, some people I was friends with or acquainted with went to college, and they weren't even very academically gifted to begin with. They were like C and B students. Not bad, right? That's not terrible. C is a passing grade. And they graduated, and they ended up being reasonably successful in life. They were also more socially apt. They understood that social connection is probably the most important thing to get a job, and then the piece of paper, and then actual competence. And by the time you're doing the job for a while, you have the chance to develop competence, right? Where I am, I didn't go to college. I worked, and I thought that just the merit of my work would get me, better pay increases and such, which almost was never true. And even if it was a better pay increase, it was only like, if everyone got a COLA, cost of living adjustment at 2%, I got, 3%. Like, oh, thank you so much for your hard work, right? And part of me, like, I wish I went to college and just suffered through that for 4 years and got the piece of paper. Though I'm seeing now, the way it's playing out, a lot of people go to college and then they end up just doing the kind of work I do anyways. Or at best, maybe they end up, managing a small retail store, or being a low-level warehouse manager or something like that. What I find particularly interesting, though, is that other people respond to the exact opposite to the hard sell, go to college. Like, yeah, I'm going to go to college. I want to go to college. And gung-ho, everything they do is for college. Like, they did the high school band because it looked good on their college transcript. They did whatever. This activity, that was good for my college transcript. It helped me get into college. I'll be getting into college. And everything's all about college. I couldn't wait. The hard sell worked for them, and I rejected it. And I think that's interesting. Different personalities responding exact opposite to the hard sell. Like, the harder people sell it, the more like, this can't be that good if you have to push it so hard. Now, it could come from the perspective of people who had suffered doing entry-level work that didn't require a college degree, didn't get paid much, got treated like crap, and they wanted me to not have to suffer through what they suffered through, but they never put it that way. They just said, you're going to be a bum. Or words to that effect. To me, it sounded like a used car salesman going really hard to sell you this lemon of a vehicle. He's got half a can of gel in his hair, on his thinning bald head, his balding head, and he smokes. He cranks out cigarettes when he's not dealing with customers, but he's covered. He's wearing so much fucking cologne. He's got the flashy watch, which isn't really an expensive watch, but to make it look like he successfully knows what he's talking about, he can afford a flashy watch. Striped shirt, the gel in the hair. Yeah, that's what the vibe I was getting from the hard sell of going to college. Oh, here I am now, where I'm poor, and what do? I take care of a disabled because I can't fit into any corporate workplace. Look, I have sympathy and love for the person I take care of, but I took the job because I was miserable working as a work-from-home remote pharmacy technician. I didn't handle pills, obviously. I was handling the billing side of things. And I hated the corporate culture, and I didn't fit in, and I hated the job, and I was miserable. And before that, I was working for the major retailer as a night stalker, which was miserable. And then before that, I worked 13 years at this other warehouse. And I know that I don't fit into the corporate workplace. I know putting this online may jeopardize my ability to find a job going forward. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe, destiny's playing itself out. And I'm supposed to just fade into obscurity and, perish anonymously and just be not even a footnote in anyone's memory. Okay, that's fine, And it could be just whenever you do a hard sell, there's always going to be a part of the population that's just going to soak it up. Like someone with perceived authority told me that this is how it has to be, and therefore I believe it. This is how it has to be. For example, I worked briefly for this warehouse, not the 13-year one. Another warehouse I only worked for a few months. And the first day of hire, the very first training video we watched was why unions are bad. Watch out for people trying to get your signature on a card. And after we watched that video, it was before they even welcome to such and such corporation, blah, blah. It was unions are bad. Everyone started like, yeah, unions suck. Yeah, we don't need unions anymore, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm not here to have a dispute about unions. What I thought was interesting is how many people just soaked up whatever propaganda was preached at them. And it could have been that only a few people were true believers, and other people were looking around, taking the temperature of the room, and saying what they think is expected them to say. And here I am, like, well, whatever. Yeah, there are good and bad perspectives about unions, but I'm certainly not like about to get in a fucking let's pile on and have a circle jerk about how bad unions are. If they were so bad, if there was nothing redeeming, I don't think people would try to would be continuing to try to unionize their workshops. In any case, people soaked it up. It was a hard sell, and they just absorbed it. Then came the corporate propaganda video about such and such corporation and what we're about. And it makes me wonder if some people on a philosophical level are empty vessels. And you can put into them whatever you want, so long as you have the perception of authority. And then you can pour into these people whatever you want to pour into them. And that could be all that's going on. So the hard sell, whether it be going to college or whatever, unions or anti-unions or voting for a politician or whatever, you have these empty cups you can fill with whatever the fuck you want to fill them with. And here I am, maybe I'm someone, my cup's already full, probably, filled with my own bullshit. And so even something that's good for me to drink just won't, you can't pour it in, it's just going to spill over the side. And maybe I would have been better off if I was just an empty cup to fill and not someone who's filled to the brim with his own delusional bullshit. Well, that's all I have to say about the hard sell and going to college. My name's Steve. I have a boulder shit with my name on it and a hill to climb. Have a good day.